G'day guys, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to be working on another how-to forge, and in this case we're actually taking a piece of 52-100 inch by quarter inch as usual, and we're using the horn and round face hammer technique to get a point. This is not one that I use quite often, but it is another way to get a point on a squared off bar by using a round faced hammer and the face of the horn in order to drive the material. The key to this technique is that you need to have heavy blows, so it can lead to a little bit of lack of accuracy. The reason you need heavy blows is you need full penetration of the power, full penetration of the energy that the hammer is imparting, going all the way through the piece in order to not have the edges creep ahead of the center, which is what happens when you get fish mouthing. It's a technique that's very useful for big bars. It can work quite quickly, as you saw here. But yeah, you need to make sure that you're actually doing heavy blows, which means you need to have fairly good hammer-eye coordination in order to get it done. But now with the point established, we're going to do the same as we always do and knock that point down to level with where the edge is going to be. Now this knife is another hidden tang design, much like last week's. But in this case, we're actually doing a beveled hidden tang, which is quite commonly associated with Scandinavian knives and Japanese knives, like the tanto and katana. So it's something to keep in mind when we're establishing the profile, is that we're actually we don't have a ricasso in this case. No flattened portion before the guard, as far as the blade is concerned. So what I'm doing now is establishing, as usual, my distal taper by hammering heavily towards the point and lighter towards the back. And what we're going to do is make sure that we're narrowing the blade to its desired width, remembering that we gain the thickness of the material in width when we draw the bevels. So if I want a 1-inch wide blade, I need to draw this 1/4 inch wide material down to 3/4 of an inch in order to then draw it out again to 1 inch. And that's something you need to keep aware of with any material that you're working with. This is also the time where I decide how long I want the blade to be, because at one point I'm going to cut in the shoulder for the tang, and that's going to be at a certain length away from the point, and I need to decide that basically here so that I know how much narrowing I need to do of the material. Okay, so in order to drive the notch, we're going to drive a single notch into the spine of the blade. Now this is going to look really weird for a while, in that it looks like that's actually the edge, but of course the edge is going to be the flat section on the other side. And the reason we're not driving equilateral notch, so not a notch on both sides, is because when we come to draw the bevel is going to go all the way through that notched portion. And if we drive the notch now, what will happen is that the tang will actually be off-center to the entire piece. So we're going to start drawing the tang down a little bit, and we're actually going to cut this off before we do the bevels, unlike all of the other blades we've done so far. That notch is the only notch that's going to be there to delineate the tang at this point, and we're going to cut it off and draw out the tang to its final dimension before we start doing the bevels. But like I said, if you'd notched both sides like a normal ricassoed hidden tang knife, you would actually end up with an off-center tang. So we're going to cut this off, being careful not to hit the edge of the hot cut. Once I see it getting thin, I just tap on the knife blade, making sure not to actually hit the hot cut hardy, because I'll damage my hammer and the hot cut hardy. And now we can go ahead and smash in our tang, again providing a distal taper and a vertical taper. Making sure that we're keeping the notch only on one side. We don't want to deepen the notch too much, because then it'll be off-center to the other side. I prefer about 1/8 of an inch. This actually went a little deeper than I originally intended, but that's okay. I can deal with that. But you don't want a deep tang notch. In any case, whenever forging any kind of hidden tang knife, you don't want a very deep tang notch. And this is a bit of an iterative process. You end up with a number of heats, dressing that tang out, getting it tapered off properly, especially in this 52-100, which is a little harder material. I'm hitting it quite hard and it's, barely moving. It will depend on the material you're using for how hard you're going to have to hit it. We want the high point to be right at the tang shoulder, so it should be tapering to the butt of the tang from there and to the point, so that the thickest portion is at the tang shoulder. And you'll see here I actually pre-curve the tang a little bit. I didn't pre-curve it halfway near as much as I needed to, and this is one of the only times where I'll pre-curve something, because that tang is going to radically curve, and even with that pre-curve it's not going to help it. So in this case, we're not cutting in a plunge cut anywhere, so I'm actually going to start forging my bevels at the point. You could forge start forging your bevels in the middle, you could start forging your bevels at the end of the tang, it wouldn't really matter. At the end of the day, we just need to forge the bevels, and the bevel is going to go all the way through the piece, all the way to the end of the tang. A good set of tang tongs is a really good idea. This set that I'm using right now is a set of Roy Adams style bolt jaw tongs, which I've actually made specifically to hold 4mm by 1/2 inch stock, which is normally around about where my tangs end up, and it makes it incredibly easy to forge tangs like forge while holding the tang like this. And we're just going to use those half hammer face overlapping sets to drive our bevels down. And again, we're looking for even edge thickness and even width. And of course, because the bevels are pushing all the way through the piece, we're going to end up with a curve over the whole piece. But what I'll do is halfway through drawing the bevels out, once I get to the point where I'm going to have to turn it around in the tongs, I'll straighten the section that I'm going to be putting in the tongs, so that it means that I don't have to come back and do it again later. Just broke a piece off the old wooden block, but that's all right. That's why you have that's why you make a new one when you need it. But like I said, straighten that out, just refine up the shape a little, and then we can flip it around and put it back in the forge to bevel out the tang. Same story as before, we're just beveling all the way through the body. Now, it's really important at this stage, unlike with the other hidden tang knife that I've shown so far, that the tang is properly proportioned and already laid out, right? If you're going to grind the tapers in, you should grind the tapers in before you forge the bevels, because the tang needs to be basically completely finished by the time you get to this stage. The reason for that is because you're actually going to drive the bevels on this, and if it's not properly tapered, then when you come to grinding, it's going to be really difficult to get those tapers correct and the bevels consistent. And you want to keep the same angle as the bevel on the blade as you do on the tang, because the tang bevel is going to gradually taper into the main bevel. And this means that when you do a guard fit up, the guard will be able to slide over this whole tang portion with a V-shaped slot, which is really important in these kind of hidden tangs. If you had a square tang, it would either have to be much thinner than the blade material itself, which would make it quite weak, or it would be too thick and you wouldn't be able to get a V-shaped guard slot over it, which means that you would never get a proper guard fit up. And so here, once we've driven the bevels in, we're actually going to have to straighten it out, being careful to keep that shoulder off the anvil. Takes a little bit of finagling to get it right. I should have pre-curved that tang just a little bit more to make this a little bit easier, especially in that corner portion right next to the shoulder. But once we've got the tang straightened out, we can drive a small notch in the edge portion to give us our tang delineation, the shoulders. So just using the edge of the hammer right next to that shoulder portion on the other side, on the spine side, we're just going to drive a small notch in the edge and then redress it to be the same thickness as the main bevel. Again, it's better if it's not deep at this point. You can always grind it in a little bit better. This is purely marking a place for you to start filing or grinding. But any of you who are interested in Japanese-style bladesmithing should recognize this setup quite well. The rear spine notch is the munemachi, which is the spine notch, or the spine tang notch. And then the front notch is the hatmachi, which is the edge notch. And then we're just going to do a final straighten, and I'm actually using this opportunity to drive the point just a slightly bit more towards the center, because it was slightly dropped. And I want a more traditional Scandinavian style blade, which is a central point. Japanese tanto tend to have their point right along the spine, and that will very much depend on your taste. But once I've got everything worked out, I straighten it out, and we're done. Okay, so it doesn't look like a complicated piece, but as you'll recognize, there is quite a bit of different geometries going on in this piece. We've got a nice straight blade. Any twists can be taken out with using the techniques from the full tang video. The notches are in the proper place, and you can see this medial ridge that runs out the tang. It's the same height along the bevels, all the way along, and that's a really important part of this blade. There you go. G'day guys, thanks for watching the video. This is a style of hidden tang knife that I see done in many different ways, but this is a very traditional method. As I will have mentioned in the voiceover, this is similar to this method that you would forge a katana or a tanto by, but it is very common in Scandinavian knives as well, obviously. So, with that being said, if you learned something, make sure to hit that like button. If you didn't learn anything, make sure to hit the dislike button. If you want to see more educational stuff like this, and you have an idea for something that you want to see me forge, make sure to leave a recommendation down in the comments. And also, if you want to see this kind of stuff before it gets uploaded to my main YouTube channel and other behind-the-scenes stuff, you can join this group of wonderful people over here, my patrons, who make this kind of content possible. They are all amazing people who have made me able to share this kind of knowledge with you. And if you want to help support me like that, the link will be down in the description below. With that being said, I'm going to jump off now. You have a good week. I'll see you next time.